Hello, welcome to Multi Minds TV. And today I'm going to take you through the process of baking bread right in your home without much kitchen aids or mechanical support. I'm going to bake bread that will be sufficient for these pans. As you can see, I have only this bread pan and this one, and since I bake it for the house, I don't mind using the cake pans because my daughter has these cake pans, so I want to make sure that I utilize all of them. So I'm going to bake what is going to be sufficient for all these, to fill all these. So the quantity of flour that I will use is for this number of pans. Now, to begin with, I'm going to take you through the major ingredients that I'm going to use in baking my bread. Number one is honey. I'm also going to use eggs, and then I will be using yeast. This is the yeast, margarine, nutmeg, sugar, and salt. And then of course my chief ingredients, the flour. For the flour, you will have to use hard flour because soft flour is not good for baking bread, so you will use hard flour. So to begin with, I'm also going to need my baking or my mixing bowls. I'm going to do a manual mixing with my hand. So I will use this one for the active mixing, and then this one will support me. And then also I will need a cup of warm water, not hot, but warm water. It must be the point where you can dip your hand and keep your hand inside warm water. So to begin with, I'm going to use this 1.5 cup to measure it. If you are using a 1 cup, fine, but this is 1.5. This is 1 cup, but up to here is 1.5. So I'm going to use the 1.5 cup, and I'm going to take 6 of these. So 6 of these, or at least 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is for the home, so we are baking what is enough for the family for at least 3 days. I have a large family, so, and my children, my family, everybody loves bread, and this particular bread is so special and so delicious, you cannot take your eyes off it. So everybody loves it, and the aroma or the smell of it actually is even enough to invite you to eat if you don't like, even if you don't like bread. So to begin with, I'm going to use half spoon of salt. I will also need 7 spoons of sugar, depending on how you want it, but I prefer to use 7 spoons. Okay. And then I'm going to add an amount of honey. As for the honey, you know the nutritional value of honey, so it depends on your personal preference. If you are somebody who loves honey, you can choose to add any quantity of your choice, but you should make sure that it doesn't become too much. As the saying goes, too much of everything is bad. So that's enough. And then I'm going to use 3 eggs. Then I will also be using 2 spoons of margarine, or at least 3. I think 2 is enough, or 2.5. That should be enough. Okay, so that's enough. And then we are good to go. So with the yeast, two spoons of yeast, or 2.5 at least, and then you add half spoon of salt to activate the yeast. Sugar to activate the yeast. Half spoon of sugar is added to the yeast in warm water. Now you close it. Close it and allow it to sit for about 5 to 8 minutes. But during that period, you can begin your mixing this way. So you start mixing the ingredients whilst you wait for the yeast to activate in the warm water. Okay, so let's check. Our yeast is activated. You can see how foamy it looks. So you can now pour it. And then you begin mixing actively. Now for the water for mixing, you should make sure that you have a small quantity of warm water somewhere, just in case the one that you add for the active mixing is not enough to mix the entire flour thoroughly well. Then you might have to add a little bit of warm water to ensure that you get it well mixed. Like in my case, as you can see, the water is not going to be enough. So I have already prepared some amount of warm water, which I have also put aside just in case. So I will just have to add just a little bit. So you keep mixing with your hand like this. Now when it becomes too hard, then you can still see some flour, like how this one appears. Then you might have to add a little bit of the warm water. Mind you, no cold water, because it can affect the activated yeast. So you keep mixing it like this, and you see as it begins, it is very sticky. Let me add a little bit of the water. That's enough. So I'll have to keep mixing until the stickiness disappears. It doesn't have to get stuck on my fingers. Neither does it have to stuck in the bowl. Still hard. Yeah. So that's enough for now. So you keep mixing it like this for at least 10 to 15 minutes until it doesn't stick to your hands anymore. Remember, this is a special bread for your family. It is highly nutritious because of the ingredients that were used, full of protein and all the other necessary ingredients found in honey, egg, butter. It serves as a good source of ingredients for the nutrition for the family. So it is not just any bread, but this bread is highly nutritious. So as you can see, after mixing it for a while, it now becomes stuck together and it doesn't stick anymore to your hand nor to the bowl. So when you attain it in this state, sometimes it is difficult to attain this state, and when you find out that after mixing for more than 10 minutes the dough is still sticking to your hand, you might have to add just a little bit of the flour to help harden it a little bit so that it can attain this state. So when you add just a little bit of the flour, it helps it to stick together, so it makes it hard enough to coagulate or stick together for you, and then it becomes non-sticky to your hand. So then when you attain this state, it means it is now ready for kneading. So you transfer it to the hard surface where you can begin kneading it. Make sure the surface is neat and hard enough for the kneading process. So in my case, I'm still using this place since it is my computer desktop and it has a marble surface which is neat enough. So I prefer to use this one anytime I bake my bread. So you prepare the surface with an amount of flour and you transfer it to it for kneading. I'm going to knead it for about 10 minutes. So you knead it like this for at least 10 minutes to make sure that the dough is smooth enough and well kneaded to give you the right texture of the bread we normally enjoy. Kneading can be very good and it can be good to your health as well. It's another form of exercise. The kneading ensures that the dough is well mixed and smoothened as well, and it gives it a texture that you love in bread. So you make sure you knead it well. If you had a mixing machine, you might have to use it. If you are doing professional bread, there is a special machine that we use for the kneading, so that it stretches the dough to give it the right texture. But since this is for the home, you will have to knead it with your hand to give you that texture that you want. So apply oil to the mixing bowl. Make sure the inner is a little bit smooth. Apply oil to make sure that when the dough rises in it, it can still be removed. It doesn't stick to it. So that is the reason why you apply oil. Any cooking oil will do, but in my case, I prefer to use the olive oil. So prepared it now, then I put it inside the mixing. Now it's time for it to allow for you to allow it to rise, so you cover it and keep it on a warm surface. Okay, so after our dough is allowed to sit for about 40 to 45 minutes, it rises and it is now ready for the final stage of the baking process. press it to get rid of the air packs. And then you transfer it from the bowl back to the prepared surface. You prepare this surface with a little amount of flour again, and then you knead it just a little bit to get rid of the air in it. Knead it again until the air in it disappears from it. Now it is ready. So now it's ready. So we put it aside, and then we bring my knife, my bowls. I'll start with a big bowl. So I apply my oil. into a round bowl, so this is okay. Since it is a round, this thing, let me just prepare it like this. And then you can put it inside. This and this. The bowl is too small, so I don't want it to over-rise and get too puffy in the bowl. So I reduced it just a little bit. So the next thing is I'm going to transfer them to the oven, but I will not switch on the oven. I will just keep them in the oven so that it will give it a room to rise in the closed environment where it can rise and get that fluffy and fluffy, or rise up and give you that shape of the bread that you love. So I'm going to transfer them to the oven and keep them inside the oven.
Okay, so as you can see the inside of the oven, and you now see that the dough is well risen. At least it has reached a reasonable height. Looking at the one at the down here, you can see, and the ones at the up here too, you can see. So now I am not going to touch anything. I'm just going to close the oven,
and then I'm going to turn it on. The next process is to apply butter on the bread.